Right, those are just some of the top stories that we have for you this evening. And like I mentioned, we have Charles Nyachai. Now you are former, is that right to say?
Well, I'll be former in like 3 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. Yeah.
3 hours. But, you know, the big question that we are asking our viewers tonight is if the CIC has actually made a difference in the implementation of the Constitution. In a few words, is it a yes? Is it a no?
From my perspective,
yes.
It's a big yes.
It's a big yes.
Absolutely.
We will be talking more about that.
Okay.
But here's our big question.
The Big Q, in association with DSTV. Get a DSTV HD fully installed decoder for only 5,550 shillings.
Right, and as we prepare to speak to the former chair in 3 hours of the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution, that's our big question tonight. We'd like to hear from you as we prepare to speak to him. Do you think that the CIC has made a difference in the implementation of the Constitution? Do you think that the CIC has made a difference in the implementation of the Constitution? We'd like to hear your thoughts on this one as we prepare to speak to him. The number to text in is 22155 and the hashtag to use on Twitter is KTN Prime, or you can tweet me directly at Betty Okari.
Get the best this festive season. Buy a DSTV HD fully installed decoder for 5,500 shillings to enjoy the best quality family entertainment with various packages to suit your needs from as low as 1,050 shillings.
Right, and as we look into the past of what the CIC has been able to achieve or not, we also want to look into the future. And tomorrow is a big day for the candidates who start for the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examinations, as the results will be announced. And we just want to take a look at just how the scramble will be for the Form 1 slots for the over 900,000 candidates who start for this particular examinations. Join me here on our Super Wall as we take a look at just how these slots will be spread out. Now, let's begin with the national schools. And it says here that the top 5 in each sub-county will get the national schools of their choice. Now, if you remember that the sub-county is talking about places like Langata, Makadara, and the top 5 students in each of the sub-counties will get to have their cake and eat it, as they will be able to go to the national schools of their choice. That's what's going to happen there. And also, another point here is it doesn't matter whether the top 5 are from private or public. Any top 5 students who, of course, will qualify to get into the schools that they chose will be able to get to the schools, the national schools of their choice. That's in regard to the national schools. Let's now take a look at the second level here. And this one now is the extra county schools. Now, if you remember, these are the schools we used to call the provincial schools some time back. Now, 20% the 20% of qualifying candidates will be from the host sub-county. Will go to the provincial schools, I beg your pardon, of the sub-county, of the host sub-county. Now, 40% will come from the host county. Now, it's talking about, of course, Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu. Now, the 40% of the candidates who will be able to qualify will go to these schools from the host of the county, e.g. those counties that I mentioned. Also, something else, another number here, 40% will be from other counties. This means that candidates who will qualify to join provincial schools can actually come from another county into another county. Those are now 40% of the candidates who are going to be qualified. Now, also something to note here is the 70% from public schools. 70% of all these candidates that we are talking about will be from the public schools, and only 30% will actually be from private school. Of course, that's going to raise a lot of concern about these particular numbers, the 70% from the public schools and 30% from the private schools. Let's move on to the other board there. And this one now is some other figures. Only 700,000 slots are available in public schools. And if you remember, the total number of candidates who sat for the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examinations this year were 937,468. Now that means that there is this number, about 237,000 students who will have to seek places either in private schools or vocational training schools. Let's now take a look at another set of numbers here. And this number right here, the 22,095 slots, these are the slots in the 103 national schools, and 66,775 will be able to join the 328 extra county schools, which we used to call the provincial schools. Moving on to another pack of numbers there. And this one is 114,907 will be able to join the 993 county schools, as 400,000 will be able to join the 6,982 sub-county schools. These are the schools that are at the grassroots level. Moving on to the final set of numbers, and this one here, 105,000 slots are available in 1,200 private schools. Now this means that about 132,467 students will have nowhere to go, or they will have to join vocational training schools in the country. That's just a breakdown of how the scramble will be tomorrow as the results are announced for the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education. And of course, the Standard Group, the Standard newspaper, has you covered on KTN News, and of course the Standard newspaper tomorrow. Of course, we will have a breakdown of the Form 1 selection, of course the disputes that will be arising as the KCPE examination results will be released. There you go. That is going to be the Standard newspaper tomorrow as we prepare to know just how many students will go to which schools. The national schools, of course, being the creme de la creme of the schools in the country where Form 1 students or potential Form 1 students will be looking to join. That, of course, will be in your copy of the Standard newspaper tomorrow. Right, something else that we are still following up for you on KTN Prime. Former Kenyan Judiciary Chief Registrar Gladys Boss-Sholei failed to appear in court this morning to answer to charges of corruption and abuse of office. Ms. Sholei, who was away for Christmas holiday, was charged alongside her former deputy Kakai Kissinger and 6 other of allegedly flouting procurement procedures in making payments for the refurbishment of the Tower, Mavoko and Garsen law courts. KTN's Murimi Mwangi has the details.
Barely 4 months after former Judiciary Chief Registrar Gladys Boss-Sholei denied abuse of office charges regarding the controversial purchase of a posh residence of the Chief Justice in Runda at a tune of 310 million shillings. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution is back on her case with fresh charges of abuse of office. Sholei, her former deputy Kakai Kissinger, and 6 others are accused of irregularly awarding tenders for the upgrade of Tower, Mavoko and Garsen law courts. When the case was called for the accused to take a plea, lawyer Hiram Kago, appearing for Sholei, told the court that Sholei had already traveled up country with her family for the Christmas holidays.
It is convenient by the court. We have had occasion to discuss the same with my colleague Mr. Derito for the DPP.
And had only learned of her court case Tuesday morning. Chief Magistrate Felix Kombo set January 12th as the date for Sholei to take her plea, while the 7 co-accused denied all the charges and were each released on a cash bail of 300,000 shillings or an alternative bond of 1 million shillings with a surety of a similar amount. Elsewhere, the fate of Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua now hangs in the balance after High Court Judge Justice Joseph Onguto declined to issue orders blocking the EACC from arresting Mutua to face abuse of office charges over irregular purchase of 14 Subaru vehicles for his county executives, allegedly at inflated prices. Early this month, Justice Isaac Lenaola, also of the High Court, suspended an order he had issued in June over the matter, arguing that the Machakos governor had not demonstrated any zeal to clear his name over the graft allegations. 5 officers of the Machakos County government have already been charged over the vehicle saga, and Mutua, who had pegged his innocence on the statement that he is not a procurement financial officer, may soon also find himself on the dock following Tuesday judgment. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News, Nairobi.
Right, and as we promised, we now want to get into that conversation with the CIC chairman, Charles Nyachai, of course, over just what has been working and what has not worked in the time that they have been in office. Remember, that's also the big question tonight. We're asking you, do you think that the CIC has actually made a difference in the implementation of the 2010 Constitution? Do text us. The number is 22155, or you can also tweet me at Betty Okari. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
So that's the question. Do you think that you have made a difference in the implementation of the Constitution?
I think, well, first of all, let me say it needs to be understood from the onset what the role of CIC has been. And in particular, that the role of CIC has not been to implement the Constitution. The role of CIC has been to monitor, to facilitate, to coordinate, and to oversee the process of implementation. The actual implementation of the Constitution is contemplated within the Constitution to be done by government in its various arms, the executive, legislature, the judiciary, and the various organs of government.
Right.
Secondly, it must be appreciated that as an oversight body, CIC has worked with all these other implementation partners. Now, that said, yes, I think from our perspective, I think the Commission has discharged its mandate as was contemplated in the Constitution. Whether you're talking about endeavoring to ensure that legislation which is enacted by Parliament to give effect and implement the Constitution complies with the letter and spirit of the Constitution. I use the word endeavoring advisedly, because at the end of the day, legislation is done by Parliament. There's a lot of work that has been done by CIC with the various arms of government at both levels to ensure that what they are doing day to day is consistent with the Constitution, particularly when you talk about the new system of governance devolution. And then, of course, what tends to be seen, the interventions out there in the public, where the Constitution is threatened or where there's an abuse of the Constitution, which I have to say is probably about 20% of the work that we do.
But you have been at loggerheads many times with parliamentarians, like what you mentioned, you know, the different arms of government, even the executive, you know, coming in and forcing, you know, their way into some bills. How has that affected?
You know, Betty, nobody should be surprised that an institution which was put in place to oversight the implementation of a very radical and transformative constitution has been, to use your words, at loggerheads with an institution such as Parliament. Ask yourself, and Kenyans should ask themselves, if that wasn't going to happen, then the framers of the Constitution wouldn't have needed an organization like CIC in the first place. But the history of this country, the history of government, the history of institutions such as Parliament and the executive and so on, made it an imperative to have a body with an independent status and with sufficient constitutional backing to oversight this process. So for me, rubbing shoulders with whether it was with Parliament or whether it was with the executive, that to me came with the job. That was to be expected, and that was just part of the process.
Do you think that it's the right time for the commission to go home, considering that there's serious processes and crucial processes that have not still taken place?
I think with the benefit of hindsight, and this is a view that we've held for the best part of a year now. From our perspective, with the benefit of hindsight, the 5-year implementation period was probably a little ambitious because of all the challenges that we've had as a nation in terms of the implementation of the Constitution. And that is why if we separate the members of the Commission from the institution of the Commission, because as members of the Commission that has been there, we did inform Parliament early enough that whatever decision they took, we were not going to go beyond today. But we did at the same time recommend that Parliament does one of two things. Either it extends the life of CIC as an institution, not the current commissioners, but as an institution, because there was still a need for that oversight, and there still is a need for that oversight role of ensuring that the Constitution is implemented in letter and spirit for the benefit of the people of Kenya. Or if Parliament, and which is perfectly within its prerogative, Parliament chose not to extend, as they appear to have done by default, if they chose not to extend the life of the Commission, then we have said that Parliament owes it to the people of Kenya to give its verdict about the status of the implementation of the Constitution, and also to inform Kenyans, guide Kenyans, how do we move forward with this implementation journey. And on that one, I have to say, on this my last day as a chair of CIC, on the second and latter more important question of how do we move forward. Not about CIC, not about the commissioners, how do we as a country move forward with the implementation process. On that, I think at this point, they may yet redeem themselves, but as at now, I would say that the National Assembly has not served the people of Kenya well.
And on that, if the extension does not actually come to be, are you confident that the implementation of the Constitution will be on track in the years to come, even as you say that now parliamentarians will have to give sort of like a report of what's happening?
Well, I still live in hope that the institutions of Parliament, because now that the National Assembly did not extend the life of CIC, it now falls, in our view, upon both houses of Parliament to address the more important issue, which is what is the future of oversighting the implementation process. I still have the hope that sooner than later they will realize the importance of this and will therefore either create another institution with the necessary independence and the constitutional safeguards to be able to carry out the job, or if not, that they will empower some other existing legal institutions, whether it is the Kenya Law Reform Commission, any other. But with that, it's very important that any such body has the requisite independence and the requisite constitutional underpinning, so that it is able to carry that implementation oversighting process forward. If that doesn't happen, then what must then happen if we are not to lose all the gains that we have had? What must then happen? And this is really for me a poor second because we have failed as a country in terms of civic education and ensuring effective public participation. So if an institution is not empowered to do that, then I'm afraid the only way that we can protect our Constitution and its implementation is for Wanjiku to then stand up and defend and protect and uphold her own Constitution. Now, sadly, Wanjiku has not been empowered
enough.
Which was an obligation that government at both levels had to provide civic education and to empower the citizen to ensure effective implementation.
Right.
That hasn't happened, but that would then be our next best hope in the absence of an institution.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting to know from where you sit.
Yeah.
Do you think that this constitution has made a positive impact on the lives of Kenyans?
Betty, my colleagues and I, having been privileged to be so intimately involved with the implementation of the Constitution, have had an experience which would only lead me to give a definite answer to the question that you have just asked. Best example is devolution. We have been out there in the counties. We have endeavored to visit the counties which were most marginalized, most excluded, most historically disadvantaged. And the truth is, we have seen what one particular important pillar of this constitution, devolution, what it has done. So without a doubt, this constitution, if you look at devolution, if you look at the rights of citizens, yourselves, the media, if it wasn't for this constitution, look at what has been happening.
Yes, yes.
So I mean, this constitution really, in my lifetime, is the best thing that happened to this country, and we must protect it. We must ensure that it works.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, and of course, all the best. I think now you can enjoy your holidays.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Now that from tomorrow I am a private citizen, I shall be happy to enjoy my
New Year.
My New Year.
Right.
That said, my colleagues and I, because we have been privileged to be so intimately involved with the Constitution and its implementation, will ensure that we discharge our obligation to the people of Kenya, even as private citizens, to do our part to ensure that that Constitution is fully and effectively implemented in letter and spirit and serves to change for the better the life of Wanjiku.
Thank you
so
very
much, Betty.
Thank you very much. Outgoing chairman of the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution, Charles Nichai, speaking to us on KTN Prime. Now, two neighboring and heavily populated counties in Kenya are tonight at the center of a rather unexpected controversy. Governors of a National Youth Service trucks found themselves in a face-off with officials from the Kiambu County who accused them of ferrying Nairobi garbage to Kiambu. Well, here's that report.
Dumping Nairobi waste has turned into a rather stinky affair for the county authorities. This is after several attempts to dump loads of rubbish collected from the city in Thika were repulsed by the Kiambu County officials. The 10 National Youth Service trucks were full of garbage collected from the Kibra informal settlement following a public outcry and were looking to offload it somewhere, but these officials were having none of it. The lorries were forced to make a U-turn at Thika Garissa Road after drivers of two lorries were arrested by county askaris at Kangoki dump site in Thika. What they were attempting to do was contrary to the Kiambu law on garbage disposal from other counties. Chief Officer at the Department of Environment, Andrew Kimani, who intercepted the lorries, said he had been trailing other private garbage collectors who had been dumping the garbage from Nairobi for the last 2 days.
What is also not proper is that the dumping has also not been done properly in the designated dumping site. There are complaints actually that some of the dumping have been done on people's plots on the wayside, and you have seen for yourselves really what is happening here. You've walked around and you have seen it. This is something we cannot allow because in Kiambu we always strive to ensure that our environment is safe.
The officers also took issue with the driver's attitude, claiming that they were rather rude even after being caught on the wrong side of the county laws.
What we have said is that we have stopped the dumping from Nairobi. Our Minister for Environment has talked to the Minister in Nairobi. We understand what is happening in Nairobi, but we understand they also have their dump site. Consultations ought to have been done before this was done, because there has been a lot of arrogance from the people who have been doing this, saying that they have been sent by people from Nairobi to come and dump in Kiambu, which of course we cannot accept.
The lorries, in all their stinking glory, were then sent on their merry way back to the city from whence they had come. Trix Ingado, KTN News, Nairobi.
Interesting controversy there between Kiambu and Nairobi County. Well, we want to take a short commercial break, but before then, a reminder of our big question tonight. It's in regards to the interview that I've just had with the outgoing chairperson of the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution, Charles Nyichai, and we're asking you, do you think that the CIC has made a difference in the implementation of the Constitution? Do you think that that commission has made a difference in the implementation of the Constitution? Let me read one or two messages here. Mwalim Robert Omondi says the CIC has not fully implemented the Constitution, but John Musembi has a different view and says the Court, Senate, AG office have done a better job than CIC, although what they did cannot be neglected. Someone here called Mwalimu Joshua says yes, it has made commendable steps in paving way for devolution, though not 100%, but they have performed pretty well. Well, thank you very much for those comments. Keep them coming. I will be sharing with you some more after this short commercial break. Don't go away. And welcome back on KTN Prime. Let's continue with our coverage this evening. And just days after Kenyans on social media hit out at Nairobi's county government over the poor state of cleanliness within the country's capital, it has since emerged that perhaps matters environment may not be the only cause for concern among Nairobi residents. Our reporter Timothy Otieno was out and about to assess perhaps a more dangerous issue, that of gaping manholes within the city, and one that has left many people injured.
Take a walk down Nairobi's streets and it isn't hard to spot them. And no, I'm not talking about the city's beautiful skyline, but rather something a little lower. The gaping manholes that dot the city's drainage system, and one that is now not only worrying, but dangerous. Just ask 52-year-old Nicholas Kubuni, who has more than a story to tell about the open sewers. You see, in the wee hours of Thursday morning, 10th September this year, Nicholas fell into one of the unmarked manholes at Nairobi's country bus station, injuring his right leg and forever altering the course of his life.
Alafu basi ilikuwa imeingia, basi kubwa sana, na wameweka barrier. Sijui walikuwa na cheki nini ndani. So niliona tu basi kama imesimama. Next nilistukia nikiwa kwa shimo ndani. Nimeanguka. So watu wawili wakakimbia, wakakuja kunifuruta. Wakaniambia, mzee, unataka kukufia hapa? Wakati walinifuruta kutoka nje kwenda kukanyaga, mguu ilikataa.
The unmarked hole was so deep that Nicholas would injure his leg, fracturing it in 4 different parts. And with that slight accident, he shifted from a healthy Kenyan to one struggling with a physical handicap.
Kama ingekuwa imefunikwa, singepata hii ajali. Yeah. Hiyo ni watu kutapojali. Na imagine, angalia hapo, ni mahali iko watu wengi. Country bus. Ujua kwamba hiyo stage pia kuna pesa watu wanalipa ndio ingie hapo. Haya, kuna police post hapo. Next. Na hiyo shimo wewe, hata wewe mwenyewe umeiona. Sio shimo dogo ambao unaweza sema ati ni kitu kidogo. Ni shimo kubwa sana. Na ninasikia ni watu wengi sana wamefunjika hapo. Sasa tutakuja kupoteza maisha ya watu paka lini?
Nicholas feels that the county government should have at least barricaded such open spaces to warn pedestrians that such areas are unsafe.
Shida yote sasa mimi naweza sema the cause ni the city council. Kwa sababu kama wangekuwa wamefunika hiyo shimo, singepata hii jangwa. Na wanatakikana waangalie vitu kama hizo, kwa sababu vitu kama hizi ndio zinaharibu mazingira.
His views strongly echoed by traders at the station who say little is being done to seal the open spaces.
Kidero ashughulikie maneno kabisa. Bado huko chini kuna shimo ingine ilizamisha bado mtoto mdogo.
This open manhole at Nairobi's country bus station sees not less than 5 people plummet in a day, according to traders here. And their calls by the Nairobi County government officials to have the situation rectified have since fallen on deaf ears. It doesn't take us long to see the dire situation. Just minutes into our arrival here, and a young boy is almost swallowed up by the manhole, now disguised by the dirty water flowing above it.
Sasa tunauliza wakubwa huku wanafanya kazi gani?
County officials say that the matter is being sorted out, urging residents to take necessary precautions.
Unfortunately, if such is happening in the city, and I want to believe that the relevant sector is doing appropriate measures to curb such.
But Nicholas says he will move to court suing the county government over neglect in ensuring safety measures are adhered to.
Sasa siwezi nikafanya kazi. Nimekuwa sasa kiwete, unaona sasa. Hii muda wote nimekuwa hapa from September to now. Nani atanilipa? Hakuna mtu atanilipa. Niko na familia, niko na watoto, wako katika shule na wanategemea mimi. Sasa siwezi nikafanya chochote. Hakuna mtu anaweza kunipelekea kwa shule.
Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
Deadly Nairobi manholes. Well, we want to take a short breather on KTN Prime. Business News is up next. Do stay with us. Welcome back to KTN Prime. Let's take a look at business, and the Ministry of Tourism has laid down the gauntlet for hoteliers with respect to pricing that does not attract local tourists. Well, this comes as Tourism Minister Najib Balala underscored the need for a revamp of tourist packages in a bid to lure both local and international tourists. The move comes even as the ministry allocated 2 billion shillings to the Kenya Tourism Board to spearhead marketing campaigns. And as KTN's Michael Karanja reports, players in the tourism industry will have to look to new ways if they are to sell Kenya as an attractive destination.
At the height of the woes bedeviling the tourism sector, scenes of tourists cutting short their stay in Kenya were heartbreaking. Following a spate of terror-related attacks in 2013, countries such as the UK, France and the US issued travel advisories against traveling to Kenya that saw tourist numbers plummet. This left tourism players at a crossroad as to how best and how quickly Kenya could turn around its image and regain its position as a key travel destination. Committees were formed, marketing campaigns initiated, but all that didn't seem to have the desired impact. According to new Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala, the mistake could lie in the fact that the industry was looking to pass methods to fix the industry, something he warned could prove disastrous.
We must have a strategy, the immediate short-term strategy, the medium strategy, and the next 15-year strategy. That is what we want to do. If we are going to take tourism seriously, we need to look in the next 15, 20 years, what type of tourism do we want? Do we want to still talk about the Kayabombo 1997 problems? No. That problem has to be resolved once and for all. So the ferry problem has to be resolved once and for all in the next 15 years. That is the plan we have.
Among the quick initiatives underscored by the minister include an all-inclusive approach, working with the respective county governments to boost tourism revenues by identifying and marketing attractions that exist in their counties. Since taking office in November, Balala has announced subsidies for tourists chartering flights to the coast, as well as initiating talks with hoteliers to develop attractive tourism packages.
I'm aware of those charges. I know Kenya has become expensive. But don't forget, Kenya is not expensive only because of park fees. Also, hotels are not charging very cheap. Let's be realistic about it. We are overpricing ourselves as a destination. Every cost is high. So we need to rethink together. The government has given incentives of almost 1 billion shillings in attracting more tourists here to this region. I want to see the Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers. How much money are you reducing to attract tourists as well? So if we make it expensive, then we will not attract tourists.
Overall foreign visitor arrivals to Kenya fell by 16.9% to 555,795 tourists between January and September. Part of the 2 billion shillings marketing budget set aside for KTB is expected to attract tourists in new source markets in a bid to diversify tourists coming into the country. Michael Karanja, KTN Business.
It's a race against time for car importers as the December 31st deadline to conform to the government's policy that restricts importation of vehicles that are more than 8 years old from the year of manufacture inches closer. So car importers are hoping that 3 vessels transporting used cars mainly from Japan that are scheduled to arrive today make it on time as the end of 2015 nears. The vehicles risk being shipped back unless they are cleared at the Mombasa port before January 1st, as a regulation locks out all 2008 manufactured vehicles from entering the Kenyan market. In 2014, more than 2,000 used motor vehicles registered in 2006 were locked out over the 8-year rule. 3 vessels en route to Kenya in the last 2 weeks with vehicles mainly from Japan are in Mombasa by Wednesday. According to the Kenya Ports Authority 14-day list, the Kenya Bureau of Standards has already warned importers that it will not allow cars that have exceeded the 8-year age limit into the country, implying that importers have 3 days to clear their units. Right, moving on, businesses dealing in importation and exportation of petroleum products in Kenya are set to be subjected to more scrutiny by the government. Under new rules, the Kenya Bureau of Standards will carry out inspection of petroleum products, expanding its mandate from the current random checks done at the service stations. Well, here's more on that story.
The move to double inspect petroleum products has been necessitated by the increased sale of substandard and counterfeit products, mainly lubricants and liquefied petroleum gas, that have continued to make their way into the market. Under the new rule, KEBS will appoint surveyors to inspect all imports of petroleum products at the source market and on arrival, expanding the Standards Body's mandate on inspection of imports into the country. The surveyors will inspect tanks prior to loading to determine if they meet the requirements for cargo to be loaded by verifying the products loading as per the last voyage. They will also be sampling and analyzing products to be loaded or discharged with a view to determining compliance to Kenyan standards or approved specifications. Oil marketing companies are expected to nominate load port and discharge port surveyors from a panel of surveyors contracted by KEBS. This is apart from notifying KEBS of attendance of pre-discharge sampling at this port. Currently, KEBS is still carrying out inspections at the service stations, which cannot clearly guarantee quality of the products in the market. In 2013, Kenya Revenue Authority revealed rogue merchants who were said to be mixing motor fuels and petroleum to increase volumes of their income, which shortens the lifespan of vehicles. The directive is part of a move by KEBS and KRA that seeks to have all imports inspected at source and issued with certificates of conformity. Double inspection is also expected to seal loopholes which have denied Kenya Revenue Authority import taxes. Michael Karanja, KTN Business.
Right, let's now take a look at the financial markets. And the torrential rains being experienced across the country did not stop the Sport Pesa tournament from going on. The tournament was held at the waterlogged Kanyang Oropitich in Kisumu County. Meanwhile, the ongoing annual Kothbi Road tournament enters the quarter-final stage Wednesday with 2 matches on card.
Intercities FC and Flamingos FC qualified for the Kothbiro football tournament quarters after winning their respective round of 16 clashes. Both teams won their matches via post-match penalties. Flamingos FC settled for barren draw in regulation time before edging out their opponents Umeme FC 3-2 via post-match penalties. The second clash of the day saw both Masa FC and Intercities FC score a goal each, forcing the match into penalties. Intercities narrowly edged out Masa 5-4 to book a place in the last of 8.
at least saisi mbaya, watu wanajua Kothbiro nini. Ukiona kina Gonda wanakuja kucheza hapa, kina Ulunga wako wamecheza tournament kama hii, lakini wameambiwa hii ni tournament ya maana sana, lazima mtu acheze ndo ujulikane umetoka wapi.
The annual tournament is being held at the Ziwani grounds in Pumwani. Elsewhere, the torrential rains being experienced across the country did not stop the Koba Sport Pesa tournament from going on. The tournament was held at a waterlogged Kanyangoro pitch in Kisumu County. In football, Yogo Football Club emerged winners after beating Magina 2-1 in a tough final. 11 brothers from Kanyangoro were third after beating Nyarombe 5-2. In netball, Kanyangoro women beat Awach women 15-8 to lift the trophy. Kanyangoro topped the standings in a round-robin format, forcing teams like Nyachoda and Nyarombe to go home empty-handed. The tournament, which is in its second year running, brought together 24 teams from Nyando, Kisumu County. Lynn Washira, KTN Sports.
The Boxing Association of Kenya Coast Branch Chairman Abdul Salam Kasim has urged the local boxing clubs to expose and promote talented boxers from Mombasa County through training and proper guidance. Kenyan boxers were once among the best in the world, with Kenyans shining at global championships, including the Olympics. The state of the sport has, however, continued to deteriorate each day. Coast Boxing Association Chairman Abdul Salam Kasim, however, remains confident that the enthusiasm from clubs, coaches and young boxers will play a huge part in reclaiming the lost glory. He was speaking at a boxing tournament in Changamwe that saw Mkomani Boxing Club emerge overall winners following African Warriors. In the lightweight category, Kombo Munyifaki beat Haran Mrsala, while Bernard Nangila of Bomu beat Hassan Omar of African Warriors. Mustafa Ali of Kenya Navy beat Tariq Mustafa of Talent Boxing Club to bag the category title.
Mchezo unafundisha mambo mengi. Mnapoona kijana hapa anapoingia kucheza, anakuwa na mambo mengi kichwani na anakuwa na split decision, ambapo inawasaidia pia katika masomo. Anakuwa ni mtu wa kuweza kushika, anakuwa ni mtu wa kuweza kufikiria kwa haraka anapoulizwa maswali. Hii yote anapata through training, na tuko sisi tayari. Makoches kama mnawaona wako tayari.
Then let's teach these mosquitoes a lesson, because Mama has Mortein Doom, which makes mosquitoes go away and not come back the whole night. So you get a peaceful night's sleep all night long.
Mortein Doom. A peaceful night is a Mortein Doom night.
The Big Q, in association with DSTV. Get a DSTV HD fully installed decoder for only 5,550 shillings.
Right, so we have to come to an end of KTN Prime, but before then, let's have a review of our big question. And we had asked you, do you think that the CIC has made a difference in the implementation of the Constitution? And I want to just sample some responses that are coming in on my Twitter handle. And El Biarni says, oh yes, Nyachai has done the best. He's a no-nonsense president, never compromises to corruption. He lives very clean. Mutile Vanda says, yes, although very little has been achieved with the new constitution. 5,000 years on Twitter says, the COK 2010 we have is one of the greatest papers we have ever produced. However, we have done it to it all the negative things Kenyans can do. Mwalimu Joshua says much of what the CIC didn't do is due to parliamentary interruption that Nyachai also talked about in our discussion earlier on. And finally, Simon Adala says, no, they had the opportunity to do much more. but they chose to go to bed with the executive. That's a sentiment there from Simon Adala. Peter Juma says, yes, given the harsh political environment, we can say they have done a good job, if not better. Thank you so much for all your responses.
Get the best this festive season. Buy a DSTV HD fully installed decoder for 5,500 shillings to enjoy the best quality family entertainment with various packages to suit your needs from as low as 1,050 shillings.
Right, so this is it for KTN Prime this 29th day of December 2015. Thank you so much for watching. Join me tomorrow here at 9 o'clock, God willing, for another bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Betty Okari. Have a lovely evening.